That was weird.
Welcome back for Season 2 of SasqWatch. We're here to continue our journey to, what are we doing again? What's the point of this?
I don't even know your name. Other than Bigfoot.
Well, we're trying to find if there's a good Bigfoot movie. We didn't really find it first season.
You know something? I love sailing so much.
When we were doing Season 1, when we were watching the movies, and we kept finding these weird elements or subplots of Bigfoot having sex with women, and it kind of threw us both off a little bit, I think, and we decided...
those were some of my most poorly received films, actually, of the bunch.
I just think it's a strange obsession the movies have, and I wanted to know more about why this keeps appearing in these movies and in this culture. So we decided that we were going to focus on Bigfoot erotic cinema. We're not going to just be covering one film, but 3 films that explicitly deal with the combination of Bigfoot and sex.
And this particular Bigfoot is really attracted to white girls with big booties.
All the films we're going to be covering today are, not all of them, but most of them have X-rated content. So, if you don't want to, we're not going to show anything. This is YouTube. I mean, come on. We don't want to anyway. We don't want to expose you to these not great movies. So
we're going to discuss them, though.
Yeah,
of course.
If you just
don't want to hear about, Bigfoot thrusting himself into human women, then maybe today's episode's not for you.
And men.
And men, that's true. Because if anything, Bigfoot is diverse.
Yeah.
There's something for everyone here.
Common ancestry.
Your saggy tits are hanging down to your knees.
If you find yourself not wanting to see anything like that, maybe turn away and revisit us next time, where we won't be doing this again, because we'll never do anything like this again.
And if you have strong political views about things like pornography and sex, you should consider donating to Planned Parenthood today.
Going off of that, we're going to be introducing a new law for the rest of the show. That's pretty exciting. It's a big announcement that I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we're never going to be doing any movies like this again. That's for sure. And then also...
I think this is an essential part of exploring the Bigfoot genre, though. We can't leave these stones unturned.
Right, but you had me do 3 at once, and so that means that we're never doing another one again.
Shit! Where the hell am I?
But also, in addition to, we're not watching any more of this, Adam's Law covers a similar thing for the future. So if you've got, multi-movie episodes in mind, then, no more of whatever that thing is after that. Because if you're making, this was a lot. This was a real chore to take these notes and to do this, so...
Well, that's about it, kids. I suggest we get a good night's sleep and an early start in the morning.
What I want to know going into these is why is it so prevalent for people to be sexually attracted to Bigfoot? Or even if they're not attracted to him, it's always Bigfoot breeding with women, or sometimes he's trying to continue the race or something like that. And I always am a little baffled as to the motivations behind these stories. What culturally are we getting at with this? So to start, I picked not just one of the earliest pieces of Bigfoot porn, but one of the earliest Bigfoot films ever, at least in America. We are starting with 1971's hardcore pornographic film, The Geek. You can find The Geek online, but because we have the Bigfoot show, and because I didn't want Patrick to get computer viruses when he edited the episode, I went out and I found the only physical release copy available of The Geek. This is Vinegar Syndrome's, I believe it is, 12 film 1970s hardcore horror pornographic box set. I bought this for the show. I now own it. I'm happy that Vinegar Syndrome puts the work in to make this stuff available. I just don't know what I'm going to do with the other 11 films. But yeah, if you want to own this movie, this is your only option.
How much was that?
I'm not comfortable telling you how much I paid for this. You can go to Amazon and figure it out.
Here you see our crew preparing to make camp. We will rest the remainder of the day, and tomorrow morning, hike further into the forest in quest of our quarry. Each member of our expedition has been carefully handpicked to think and work together as a single unit. Our prime concern is to locate and photograph the Geek.
Adam, what did you think of the Geek?
I thought it was gross. I hated it. I really did. I immediately, it's the first one we watched, and I immediately started questioning whether this episode was even worth it. Whether the show was even worth it. I hated it. I hated it.
I'll say that, like, I watch a lot of different kinds of movies. I've seen all kinds of, gross or extreme things in cinema. So it's not often that I'm, like, shocked or appalled by anything. But I will say watching The Geek was a genuinely harrowing, tough experience. It is only 55 minutes long, but it takes all of them. It takes every minute of your time. It's a roller coaster. It is not something you've seen before.
If it had been longer than 55 minutes, I don't know if I would have sat through it. It's really graphic. It's from the 70s. Put those things together.
There are certain stereotypes that pop into your mind when you think 70s hardcore porno. And those stereotypes, everything short of the plumber, are prevalent in this movie. The hair, there's a lot of hair. People are pasty. The camera does not shy away. You get to see all of the red bumps on their skin, the prickly grass cutting into the flesh.
It doesn't look like a nice place. Let's talk about, let's shift right to the setting. There's sex in this movie, so that's, if we cut around that, there's not going to be much movie left. So that's what we're going to do, because,
Yeah, we're not going to show you guys the worst of it, but I think you can picture it in your head. I'm going to try and be descriptive so that you can get that experience. I want to start off, though, with one note, is when I discovered this film, my first question is, why is it called The Geek? Because for our generation, when we hear the word geek, we think like some little Poindexter kid carrying books, shove them into some lockers, that kind of thing. But back in the day, like back before the 50s even, I guess the geek referred to like a mongoloid human person, like a Neanderthal
that sounds
kind
right.
of person. For the Geek's credit, I will say I really enjoyed the first about 4 minutes of the movie. I hit play on it, and you see that like opening scroll, that pre-Star Wars opening scroll of information.
It's so poorly done. And then when you get to the end, they have the title and they like zoom in on it. It's super shaky.
Out of focus.
Yeah, like, they zoom in on it too far. You lose the and Geek kind of goes out of focus.
Yeah, at the very beginning when you see the van pull up and the kids get out of the van, and then the voiceover narration starts
right from the scroll text right into a voiceover introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to witness here at this theater in the next hour will undoubtedly become indelible in your memory
forever.
Yeah, and the voice does not sound like one of those kids. I don't know which of the kids it's supposed to be.
It's implied it's somebody that's there, but we never figure out who it is. And in fact, we only ever figure out 2 of the characters' names for sure.
One of the names is in question, though.
Yeah, well, that's why I said 2 for sure. We got John and Valerie, who are, we get them first. And then we've got potentially David. I think we both thought we heard one of the other characters call another character David, but
yeah, I'll
can't
say
be sure.
The first 10 minutes are kind of fun. The first 4 really, and you're plotting along, and I was thinking bless these kids, these youngsters with their van, going out to find Bigfoot in the woods. But then John and Valerie walk up this hill, and they start kissing, and just the way that they started making out, I knew the fun left my body. I realized exactly what I had done. There's really, the whole middle of the movie is 2 sex scenes back to back. And both of those sex scenes they're as hardcore as you could possibly get.
I don't know if that's true, but they're as uncomfortable as you could possibly get. They're as unappealing as you could possibly get, I think.
Yeah, it's shockingly graphic. Even in the 70s, I just wonder who could possibly find that erotic, or I think of the cameraman. I think of what he must have been doing in the grass. And it just... It's...
that pokey-looking grass.
Pokey-looking
This
grass.
didn't look like a fun place to, do any of these things. The people didn't look like they were having that much fun, to be honest.
No.
Bigfoot really was having a tough time.
We'll get to Bigfoot. We'll get to the whole Bigfoot sex scene is a separate conversation from the first 2 sex scenes. Because they are...
Which one?
What do you mean, which one?
Which Bigfoot sex scene?
It's a twofer, but we'll get... I want to talk about how I felt watching Bigfoot have sex separately from how I felt watching these 70s youngsters have sex. And it was really weird.
Oh, let's do it again later, baby. All right?
All night long, baby.
How do we make the audience picture what we saw? How do you describe it?
I don't want you guys to have to picture what we saw.
It takes up the whole screen.
Track down the Geek from 1971.
Takes up the whole screen, and it's butthole here, and then balls covered in hair, and then you see that.
You get that from pretty far away. If we're going in detail, this is the only part we'll do this with. You get that from pretty far away, and you just slowly punch in, just slowly from too far away, because it takes too long, and then you stop, and you shoot back out, and then you go back in. No, you don't shoot back out, you reset, and then you zoom back in, and it's intrusive.
You mean to tell me you're a virgin?
Well, the closest I ever came was when my sister let me feel her breast. But I wanted to have an affair with her. I felt bad about it because she was my sister.
There's this weird through line in all 3 of these movies. Even though as different as they are from each other, they all have throwaway lines referencing characters in the film previously having some sort of incestuous kind of encounter.
Yeah.
Which is just very strange to have as a throwaway line.
And the only thing you know about someone is just I know what this man's balls look like, I know how much hair is on his ass, and I know that he felt his 15-year-old sister's boobs the week before she got married.
Yeah, glasses guy. That's the one. Creepy glasses guy.
Also, yeah, Valerie called John David during their sex scene. Remember? I think we both put in our notes David.
Oh, is that who was called David?
Yeah.
I thought David must just be one of the other guys. Well, maybe John. Oh, that's right. Because I wrote it next to John as though maybe his name was John David.
Maybe his name was John David.
But it's weird that we got 2 names for one character and then 0 names for 2 or 3 characters.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just weird. It's very ramshackle.
That's a good word for it.
Ramshackle.
We have had to leave our trucks down in the valley and carry our equipment on our backs for the last 30 miles.
I just want to say, I don't believe the very beginning of the movie, or before it even says the title, it's like, this movie was shot in Washington, Oregon, and Canada. And when I saw that, I was like, this is going to be cool. We're going to go all over the place. No. This bull crap. This whole movie looks like it was shot like 20 feet from where the van parked. You see
just
the
on
same
this hillside.
Yeah, you see the same hill. They go this way down the hill. They go that way down the hill. They go up the hill. They go down the hill. It's all one hill, no trees. This is not a forest. This forest.
We see some caribou or something at one point, but it looks like stock footage.
The most stock footage. Yeah, no way. Those trees are 1 billion miles away from wherever this plains are.
Where these people are at.
Yeah. This movie, very little information exists about it. If you look it up, who knows who directed it.
We had difficulty finding the IMDb page for it. They had to Google it first. We couldn't just find it by searching on IMDb.
Yeah, it's easier to Google IMDb The Geek 1971 if you want to know, if you want to try and go down the rabbit hole with us.
There's not a lot to learn. You're not going to get a lot out of it, I promise you.
So yeah, on one hand, it's such a shocking image to see that just your brain doesn't quite know how to compute the visuals of Bigfoot, you know, doing as he does. But on the other hand, it's confusing because everything that happened up until that scene made you think that the reason that these kids were here was to have sex with Bigfoot, right? Like, they talked about how they were going to share their women with Bigfoot. They were looking for Bigfoot. And then when they see Bigfoot...
I think they met with each other. I think that they were there to take a picture of Bigfoot to prove his existence,
no, but
which is the thing that all three of these films' characters are trying to do.
But when they see Bigfoot in the movie, and it's quite a sight, the first thing they do is they, like, two of them, like, go down the hill.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
And he's, like, holding her by the hand, and he's like, all right, honey, go on and touch him. Like, go right over there. And so she wanders close to Bigfoot, and he just immediately grabs her, and he just immediately declothes her and starts having sex with her. And then it's the poster shot, and, you know, you're sitting there, you're watching that, and you endure that moment, and then it ends and she starts crying, and that's when the guys run over, and you're like, wait a minute, was Bigfoot... So all of a sudden it becomes a rape scene out of nowhere. And you're like, wait, why? And then you get another one right after that. And then you get to watch this moment where Bigfoot's like exhausted in the grass and he's like lying there and you're still watching it. And then the guys run over. And they
start hitting him with like sticks and stuff, and then he runs away.
Yeah, they have like a big battle royale fight at the end.
It's not a big fight.
I mean, he's throwing him across the yard, and then eventually Bigfoot runs away, and they go and they comfort that guy. Not either of the girls, but they like pat him. They're like, "You okay, man? We'll help you walk." And the movie ends with them like walking away, swearing revenge on Bigfoot. I don't even think there's credits. It just ends.
No, because I was waiting to see if they would say what anyone else's name was, and there just were no credits with names in them. So,
yeah, I feel like my thoughts on the movie are, I would never ever recommend or tell someone to watch this film for sexual purposes. That can't happen. But if you're having like a panic attack, if you're like just shaking with anxiety, like maybe you're in the waiting room about to get a vasectomy and you just like need to go to another place, I think if you put this movie on for those 55 minutes, you are not going to think about any of your problems. You're not going to think about the price of gasoline.
I guess that's true. I guess I can agree with you there. But I think there are other things you could put on to waste your time like that are less offensive.
I don't want to say that I think the movie is like good in any way, but it definitely has a real shock value. Like, you will not forget this experience. I do want to point out, though, that the Geek, the one thing that was going through my mind the whole time was the soundtrack. Because even if you're, like, I wasn't able to get upset about the rape stuff in the Geek because, like, that, I couldn't get to that point because my mind was so fractured at just the idea of what I was watching in the first place that I could never get emotional about it.
There was an absurdity to it all.
I don't know about absurdity. There's just such a blunt force trauma to it that you just don't even want to get to the end of the road where you can get, you know, happy or sad. You just put it in a box and you put that box to the side. But the soundtrack that's going on, you've got to engage with that because
it's wildly inappropriate for what you see on screen. Like,
it feels like you're flipping channels. Like, you're halfway through a sex scene, you're like the same shot of that guy's butt, and it just changes to like.
Only other thing I want to mention is in that section with the big feet. The second girl that he goes after, she trips and falls down, and it's really funny. They just do it in such a poor way that it's obvious that it was like the safest fall ever.
Let's move on to something a little different.
Okay, our next film is, we got 3 films here. So we didn't really mention this before, but there's 3 of them, and they kind of go in an order. So the first one is kind of the hardcore thing. Then we've got the more softcore thing, and then we've got the thing that's like about sex but operates without any like real nudity or anything like that.
We'll get to Bigfoot. We'll get to that one. But first, what's the next movie?
Our second film here is 2011's Sweet Prudence and the the Erotic Adventure of Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's the title.
We were waiting around for hours, and I just got so restless. But fortunately, I had something to help me relax.
I think that it's worth saying, I think this movie benefited enormously from being viewed. We watched it last, so after The Geek and after our next film, seeing this, it was just like a burst of sunshine. It was like, oh my God, somebody had fun making this.
Yeah, that's... I mean, at least it looked like people were enjoying themselves here, more so than either of the other 2 movies. So, I mean...
Prudence is a nice girl. Like, at the no matter how you feel about pornography, Prudence was just a nice person to everyone in the movie.
Now, have you almost college graduates discovered a shred of useful information?
Well, we've only had a few minutes here, but by the nature of the footprints compared to the depth of those of my own, I've ascertained that the creature weighs between 300 to 350 pounds, and gauging by the broken branches in the surrounding area, I'm estimating a creature of approximately 7 feet or 2.36 meters.
It was a really positive experience.
Of like lots of sex and then a lot of like, like very positive. They go to like a nativist colony that's kind of like,
a nude colony.
They're like a nude colony, but they're also into, I don't know, they don't really get into it very much.
They get into the pool.
That's what they get into.
So what's the plot of Sweet Prudence? What's the erotic adventure of Sweet Prudence?
Well, it's a similar thing. It's Prudence who really wants to be a cryptozoologist. She couldn't get her degree last time, probably because there's no accredited school that I'm aware of that has that degree, but also because
she has a what's her Achilles heel?
She just gets too horny. That's that's par for the course for this kind of thing. I feel like, but
the Loch Ness monster because she was busy masturbating on the shores of what's that lake called?
Loch Ness.
The Loch Ness Lake.
Loch means lake, I believe.
Oh.
Camera, get it.
In general, this one has more thought-provoking than even some of the other films we've watched.
There's way more plot here than you would expect. So Prudence has to go to find evidence of Bigfoot. To be fair, Prudence put in the work.
No, we don't believe any of that stuff. And we're certainly not coming there to take any silly photos or do any kind of silly investigations. Nope, we're just tourists coming to enjoy the nice peace and quiet and sunshine.
Prudence isn't just like packing a suitcase and going out to look for Bigfoot. She's got the whole like Charlie Day-esque like chart, where he lives, how big his feet are, how tall he is, what kind of hair he's got.
Well, when they find the foot, that's what. It's right at the same time that they meet that other Dirk or whatever his name is.
I swear, I have an early note. 5 minutes into the movie, I have her saying that his footprint is 18 inches.
Wow. I found hair samples, and this is amazing. Oh my goodness. Footprints! Veruca, look at these.
I'll take your word for it. This is enough country living for me right here.
Okay. Well, later on when they see the footprint, she says that Bigfoot weighs 300 to 350 pounds. He's 7 feet, about 2.36 meters tall. That he's either displaced or a single male seeking a mate, or that he's moving out to get new territory for some reason. But they also said it'd be presumptive to assume that a creature like that has behavior similar to other creatures that we've met, like humans or monkeys, because we don't really know. It's uncontacted. And that's all smarter than anything that we've heard.
Prudence.
I mean, it's not much smarter, but it's smarter than anything we've heard thus far. They did more work to explain Bigfoot here.
This is one of the only, if not the only movie that we've tackled where on the scenes where Bigfoot's not on screen, people are actually discussing Bigfoot. They're discussing not only like where he is and what he is, but like the ethics of photographing an animal that doesn't want to be photographed. Like Prudence is doing all that stuff, and I just started to admire her during the movie. I'm just like, hey, look at Prudence, who actually like cares about the plot of this movie, even if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was harmless. That's something I don't know that I can say about the other two. So that's why this one gets passed for me.
It's a harmless piece
and
of
it did more thought than even some of the other Bigfoot films. Like, this is less harmless, I think, than some of the other like even just the regular movies that we've watched. I think some of those are like...
They hurt you more?
Yeah, they do. Some of them do. Just from like how careless they are about what they're doing.
And then I studied all the other reports of what could have been bears, but maybe weren't, and correlated them all to the area where the two girls sighted the creature. They all converged right here. Oh crap. Anyway.
There is a unnecessary human bad guy in this movie in the form of Dirk. And Dirk comes in, and he's kind of like the...
He really is insufferable. Like, we immediately both pegged him as, like, we're going to not like this character.
Well, considering we're going to be spending so much time together, perhaps you ladies could benefit from a little Dirk worldly expertise.
Dirk brings all the stuff into the movie that I'm happy isn't there. You know, everyone else is happy and positive, and then Dirk's, like, in his suit, like, spying on people.
Were you really gonna kill Bigfoot?
We found your gun and saw the tape.
Well, there's no point in denying it. Yes, I came here with the intention of killing Bigfoot. And I deceived you all into becoming pawns in my elaborate charade.
Yeah, well, your game is over, Mr. Bigfoot shooting person.
But I will say, somehow, at the end of the movie... You know, we complain about these human bad guys, but Dirk is the first time that we've had one get reformed.
Yeah, he becomes a reformed human bad guy. He's also the first male character that we've had have relations with Bigfoot.
Yeah, and I'll say my least favorite character in this movie gave me the most genuine laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, we discuss a lot of films here where Bigfoot is sexually assaulting women, so it's like, I guess it's fair that there's a movie here where Bigfoot's sexually assaulting a man.
How does Dirk...
Well,
in a nutshell...
So in an attempt to lure Bigfoot, Dirk is dressed up as what they believe a female Bigfoot would look like. Bigfoot finds him and then begins to mate with him. it's not shown as consensual. It's actually very similarly shot to the Bigfoot
to the Geek.
Scenes from the Geek, which is I guess funny in a weird way. And then after that, he like wakes up the next day, and they're all like worried, like, oh, Dirk's gonna be awful, like he was acting weird yesterday, and then he wakes up and all of a sudden he's being really nice, and you get this like montage where he's thinking about him and Bigfoot and love.
Now, you should put some context. We do know that Bigfoot, how exactly the Tibetan monks said that Bigfoot
he has
secreted
a gland that could be used to make the ultimate male elixir.
Yes. So it was through the sexual act with Bigfoot that Dirk's personality changed and he became a lot nicer, more positive.
So
make
like,
of that
threw
what
his
you
gun
will.
away because they didn't want it to hurt anyone or
Flower
anything
threw
anymore.
his gun away.
And he just was like, "That's fine. I don't even care. You know, I just want to be with Bigfoot." And it's really weird, but it's more interesting of a story choice than some of the other stuff we've seen. It made me laugh too. The montage. There's 2 montages. There's one there, and then as we move on.
He starts to feel abandoned by Bigfoot.
Yeah, because Bigfoot chooses kind of Prudence over him, and we get this second montage of him now doing all the same things, except...
I'll say Prudence wasn't boring the way that, it's not repetitive, I would say, because the movie keeps throwing different character combinations at you. You've got Prudence, who got her roommate, who's got her own sex blog. Prudence lures her into the adventure with the promise of lumberjacks. You've got Mike, who has to be convinced to come on this weekend and does nothing. Then you've got Flower and Ginger, of course.
Who are the people at the nativist place.
There's a flower power energy to this movie.
There really is. It very much feels like a green kind of movie, which is fine. It's very much like a free love, hippie-ish kind of
Which is strange
thing,
to be like, yeah, it's really free love and nice and positive. There is that part where that man gets raped by a Bigfoot in the ass. But,
but it's kind of a joke.
It's sure, it's still like, even I don't care if it's a joke or told straight. If you tell me Bigfoot's having sex with people in any form, my mind kind of twitches, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean?
Oh my god.
So we get to the end of the movie, and there's a lot of plot in the last 30 minutes. The movie's throwing, her roommate's got that vibrating sword.
Yeah, that was crazy. And then Bigfoot's got the like vaginally inserted communication system because
with reverb.
Yeah, we find out that so it's like a vibrator too, basically. We find out that Bigfoot is actually an alien, so he invented that device so he could communicate. He gives it to Prudence, and so then they start communicating.
No, the device you've inserted allows you to hear my thoughts.
And I think it's worth noting.
It's our first talking Bigfoot.
It's worth noting. I was less disturbed because yes, Prudence does have sex with Bigfoot. That is the end of the movie, and it's built up so much better than in the Geek.
It's kind of funny too. It's not as gross as it is like funny.
It's not as gross, and I like that the movie Prudence doesn't have sex with Bigfoot until she knows that he is an alien and has communicated. Like, we hear words from Bigfoot's mind. So there's like a consent to it.
It's the most consensual Bigfoot sex we've seen on the show for sure.
Yeah, so like yes, I was still like disturbed watching it, but it's not like the Geek where it's breaking you and you have to disassociate. It's like watching a murder. You're just like, I can't be here for this.
I can't be here for this.
No.
I've got to create a new me to be here for this.
I will
you think
say,
you might suffer from some multiple personalities after that one?
Yeah, there's that other version of me. There's Greg in the closet who watched the Geek and like wants to talk about it.
You smell like cat pee.
We also got the return of Bigfoot vision here for the first time in a while.
And what I loved about this movie's Bigfoot vision is it's just vision. It's just like, oh, he's walking there.
Yeah.
It's not...
It's just vision from his perspective. We hear some noises over. It's a little lazy, but honestly, at least I can see. At least I think Bigfoot can see.
I think it's interesting to look at the gap and the 40-year difference between where it started and where it got to, because I feel like there's got to be some really insidious origins behind this genre. But to see Sweet Prudence, you're like, well, they got over that. We're in a happy place now with Bigfoot.
It's so nice. It's such a relief to see this Bigfoot that's not maliciously like trying to hurt people and like other people trying to maliciously hurt Bigfoot or each other. It was nice to just have one where like we did have that in Dirt kind of, but it got resolved. It's nice to have one so far that's just not so mean-spirited, I suppose.
Yeah, by the end of the film, when they all have that naked pool finale, you know, you really feel like everyone genuinely had a great weekend.
And Prudence wrote him that poem. We'll play that for you.
Yeah, if you don't think Prudence is just a sweetheart after that poem scene, I don't know what to tell you.
So here it goes. Oh, Bigfoot, with your big feet, I hope someday that we shall meet. And on that day, we can share the thoughts and ideas that show we care. You as a man, and me as a woman. And then I couldn't find anything that rhymed with woman. But I really, really, really tried.
My final thought on this film is at the end of it, the credits start to roll, and it says, "For John Quinn." And I genuinely want to know who is John Quinn and why is this movie
I mean, we didn't really pick through the like cast and crew. Perhaps John Quinn worked on this film, and it was one of the last things he worked on. I don't know. Maybe this was something he wrote. I don't know. I don't really know.
I love the mystery of who is John Quinn.
I'm sure we could find out that answer. I bet Pat will find it out for us.
So now that brings us to our final film of the episode. I chose this film because it was released this year. Hot off the shelves comes Jim Wynorski's Bigfoot or Bust.
From 2022.
He's not here.
What do you mean he's not there?
He got away.
Oh, no, he got away.
I want to preface this by saying that I unabashedly like many of the films of Jim Wynorski. I like Chopping Mall. I like Return of the Swamp Thing. I like Shockwaves. I like Curse of the Komodo. I like Komodo versus Cobra. Like this man has made many films that I just enjoy.
I have seen Chopping Mall and The Return of the Swamp Thing.
He's also made a lot of softcore pornography as well. He's got a type of film.
Didn't know that.
I don't know that I think he's a great filmmaker or anything, but when I saw that Jim Wynorski made a Bigfoot movie, I was like, well, I've got to see that. And man, I have to say, I really, really wish that I had not picked Bigfoot or Bust.
It is awful.
I would say there is no nudity in this film at all. And that perplexes me so much. I'm so confused.
It's strange. It's strange that you would make a movie like this that doesn't include nudity. It's full of...
It's unrated as well. It's not like they did it to like sell more copies. It's just...
They weren't selling copies. He did it because he wanted to.
So this one, to me, I mean, it is not my fault for looking at this movie and thinking, well, surely there's going to be boobs in that. That'll be perfect for our Bigfoot erotic marathon. And we put it on, and
there were boobs in it.
I mean, it's just weird. They
were presented very much like that, and there were a lot of really weird effects with them the story was non-present. So take these other two films, but replace all of the sex scenes with like original musical numbers by people who aren't musicians. And like, I assume they're not anyway. And you know, slap those on top of like really cheesy music videos, essentially. At one point, the girls find a trampoline in the woods. They all take turns jumping on it, and then they all jump on it together while a song plays.
This is the movie where they all take turns jumping on the trampoline, but they even censor it when someone accidentally gets naked. It's weird. It's so, I don't understand this movie. I don't understand
who it's for, what it's doing. I don't know. It may even have less of an audience out there than the Geek, which is crazy to say.
We're gonna get you with lust. No turning back, it's a must. There's just no giving up.
Well, you've said you've read some stuff from interviews and stuff with him.
Yeah,
that seemed a little enlightening after watching this film.
He's got some quotes. You know, they asked him why he got into movies, and he said for the chicks and the money. He said the cheapest special effects in Hollywood are breasts. You know, and I don't, you know, I don't want to get too much into the weeds of Jim Wynorski. We could do a whole separate show, just going through his filmography.
I don't think I want to do that show.
I mean, I like Dinosaur Island. I like a lot of the stuff. He wrote Forbidden World. Like, but there's like boobs in almost all those movies. So this seems like of all those, there did not need to be as much erotic content in Return to the Swamp Thing as there is. Just didn't need to be there.
No, that's nothing to do with what Swamp Thing's about.
Desperately needed that because everything that happens is so painful. It is not a comedy. I would shudder to think of the type of person who would watch this movie and just laugh and laugh and laugh.
I'm so happy I could just kiss you.
Now that's just wrong.
Why?
Because you're my sister.
Oops, keep forgetting.
Yeah, just get on with it. Meet me up there.
I don't want to picture that person either. I hope they don't exist.
My notes in this film are shameless. Jesus. I can't understand these women. And then I cannot hear these women.
They all talk so much.
Yeah, the plot, like, we're not going to try and go through the plot. We try really hard most of the time.
They try to make the girls stupid too, and they succeed, but like it's done in a stupid way too, so it's just nothing here is fun to watch.
All of a sudden, he made a beeline for me. And I was like hiding behind rocks, and he started chasing me. And then he came close to me, and he was trying to pull my bra off.
There's some hillbillies at the very beginning.
And at the end.
They show up and they say something to the effect of Bigfoot murdered our father. We've got to find Bigfoot.
Our father's dead, a horrible accident with greedy hunters out for Bigfoot, and then somehow that's Bigfoot's fault.
I mean, Jess, it's been 5 years. When are you gonna let this go?
When are you gonna give a shit that our father's dead?
You don't think that this kills me every single day, huh?
Then we cut to subplot A, which is like, I think it's 5 or 6-ish.
Women who want to be famous, so they want to go take a picture of Bigfoot because nobody's done it.
It's like they're just all the same. There's a big blob of women, and they all talk together. And every time they talk,
I don't think there was much of a script. I think they were just kind of riffing. We've seen that in 1 or 2 other scenes, but I think this one they were doing it most of the movie.
Right, are we ready? Yeah. Are we ready to go? Yeah. Yeah, let's do it, ladies. Let's go.
They'd get together and they'd start like communicating, and I knew that was like, this is the plot. I'm trying to listen, and it's like big steel shutter doors come crashing down in my ears, and I just reject all their words. So you're just watching it and you're like, okay, they're looking for Bigfoot. There's the trampoline.
Unless that's a mirage, that is a trampoline.
Oh, trampoline. Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Like that? Let's go check it out.
Then we get the Porta-Johny.
Oh, that's with the space women. See, there's a
okay, so then these women show up from the future. I'm pretty sure they're witches too, but we don't find that out until later.
Why do the women show up from the future?
Because they're there to get Bigfoot's poop. It's actually used in a like cure-all kind of medicine in the future. So they want to get some of Bigfoot's poop and take it back to the future with them. So that's why they're here. But they look just like the girls in the other group.
Yeah, no, at one point...
But in spacey outfits, and they have a laugh track when they talk. So
they
their
only meet
bad
up
jokes
one
are
time.
worse.
The two women groups only meet up one time, and when they did, I immediately couldn't tell who was part of it.
Jesse! Breathe. Oh, who are you? Who the hell are you? I'm Dr. Dawn from the Dr. Dawn Show.
Dr. Dawn?
Who's that?
The Dr. Dawn show was canceled 20 years ago.
Well, who are you? Where are you from?
We're from 2050.
Which group? One of them's name is Jesse James. One of them's name is Tilly. Tilly was the,
She was a very, very stereotypical Asian character, which is really jarring to see in 2022.
Yeah, she was also my favorite character, because at least there's a lot to unpack when she's on screen.
They gave her more dimension than anyone else, but just by throwing random tidbits at you, it's just like, I always keep this sword with me, and she said 2 or 3 other things that I was like, excuse me?
I'm half German and half Japanese. My mother was German, and she named me Tilly because I have bravery and strength. And my father gave me his sword on his deathbed.
There were times during this film that I was really perplexed, like the Porta-Johny scene. That's a scene that you watch and you're like, I don't know what to do.
It looks like somebody was really into Just Dance, and they just put that. They wanted their song, whoever, because it was another original song. It sounded like some of the girls that are in the movie, and I think it was them, because I saw them listed in the soundtracks. I just don't know which ones.
If this was a level of Just Dance, what do you think the difficulty's set at?
Oh, I have no idea. Probably not very hard. It's not like they can, I don't know. I don't want to talk about them.
You suffer through some songs. At one point, the women are holding flashlights.
It's just a series of songs with the women doing sexy, traditional kind of women in music video things, and then Bigfoot peeking out at them.
Yeah,
that's pretty
Bigfoot's
much
always in the bushes.
That's pretty much the whole movie.
I'm knocking on my back door. You got the best of me. There ain't much left of me.
Quotes from the film. Bigfoot likes big titties.
Do I have any
Do you need
quotes
anything
from
else?
the film?
I think there's something about booties too.
Well, I'm a stripper, so I'm going to start stripping.
Oh,
Good idea.
Yeah.
I wish we could cool down, and then they proceed to start a water bottle fight.
Okay, I wish you hadn't said that, because when you think a movie like this, and you think of the girls hiking, and one of them says, "I wish there was some way we could cool down." You'd think, oh, we're going to the pool, or there's a springs, there's got to be something. No, they start taking plastic water bottles and just splashing them on each other. I'm pretty sure what it is that Jim Wynorski doesn't care about anything anymore, and he wanted to get a bunch of his friends that he'd made movies with before to be silly, probably filmed it 10 minutes from his house. And that's fine. That's fine. What I don't understand is the Bigfoot of it all. I don't understand where the stuff comes from in your brain. It has to originate from there's got to be some Freudian, beetle behind all these layers that's sending out the shock waves to get to this. And I'm so curious what it is. I don't know. I don't think that this movie is for anyone.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's awful. I really do. I thought the first one was awful. I thought this was equally an unenjoyable experience in just a different way. I really didn't enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to forgetting it.
There and... Ready? No.
Well, let's get to ratings.
Yeah, all right. That's enough of Bigfoot or Bust.
The Geek.
The Geek. Okay, wow. My rating for The Geek. I'm never going to forget the Geek. I'm never going to forget it. And for that reason, I feel like it wasn't nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 1/2 Bigfoot.
I'm going to give it 1 full Bigfoot.
Sweet Prudence and the Erotic Adventures of Bigfoot.
4 big feet.
3.5 big feet. It was harmless. Maybe bump it down to 3. 3 big feet.
Aww.
It was harmless. It made me laugh genuinely once or twice. It wasn't.
Prudence was a better character than any female character in all of season 1.
I think 4 stars is like the highest I've given anything. 4 big feet. Sorry, I've discussed before how those are not equivalent. I think 4 big feet is the most I've ever given anything on this show. So 3 seems reasonable to me.
I mean, yeah, it's high for you. I'm happy that you didn't hate all 3 of the films.
Me too, because I really don't know if I could have sat through. Prudence was the longest one, so I was really dreading, because the Geek was like 55 minutes, Bigfoot or Bust was like 80 minutes,
75,
or 70-something, 75, and Sweet Prudence was a full-length feature, 90 minutes long, and I was really worried going into it. It did not feel as long as either one of these other 2 movies.
No, because you're having fun. And that's the... I forgot that that's what you want from movies, is to have fun most of the time.
Fortunately, there's no shot of Bigfoot, but we know why Dirk was walking so far.
I am so putting this online. Shall we wait?
Now I want to talk about the reason that we did this episode was that you and I were curious why we kept running into these like sexual Bigfoot encounters in these movies. And we were like, well, let's just go to the source. Let's go right to a movie that is upfront about it, and let's figure out, like, what is it that people find enjoyable about this? And I'm going to say, I don't think I learned anything.
I don't think I learned very much. Honestly, if anything, it's kind of what I mentioned in the wrap-up episode. I think it's all Bigfoot stories are kind of about human curiosity. And so this is about like a different, darker section of human curiosity in relation to like our history and the natural world and stuff like that. And I feel like that's what these are kind of a darker
I think
reflection of that.
I'm no closer to figuring out the psychology of Bigfoot eroticism. But when I look at these movies, I think you take Bigfoot or Bust, you throw that aside, because I truly think that film is nothing. It just doesn't exist. But the other 2, when I look at them, I see a timeline, and I'm not quite sure exactly what connects all of it.
But Bigfoot or Bust ruins that timeline, Sean. It comes in and you're like, this is nasty, this is gross, this is exploitative, this is like free and nice, and then you get this.
Widen your scope. Go back further, because it all starts in the 30s with King Kong. It starts with King Kong, and it's the biggest movie ever. Everyone watches it. Everyone loves it. And you've got King Kong and Fay Wray, and that relationship, which is an interesting one, of like the ultimate like beast and the beauty, and you get that to chew on. Then years go by, and then there's this like weird thing in the 40s where you get these movies about gorillas getting loose in mansions, and they're really racist, and I'm not quite sure how that fits into everything.
Oh, Miss Yoga. Miss Yoga, please don't do it this time. Don't bite on this time, Miss Yoga. Tell me loose, Miss Yoga. I leave you. I ain't never coming back here no more.
What is all this nonsense?
What did you say, Yoga? Doggone, I thought that was Mr. Yoga had hold of me.
Go to your room.
Yeah, that's where I'm going, and far away from here.
You get that for a while. And then in the 50s, you start to get Yeti movies from far overseas. And that's the first kind of cinema you get. And then in the 70s, that's when you get the first American Bigfoot in the movie Bigfoot. And it only took 1 year between that and the Geek. And that's when you get someone in some room must have looked at King Kong and thought, like, wouldn't it be great if King Kong could have sex with Fay Wray, but it would have killed her.
Suppose Bigfoot.
If somebody asked me, I want a piece of Bigfoot porn, what should I get? The answer is Sweet Prudence. It's Sweet Prudence and the Erotic Adventures of Bigfoot. If somebody says, like, I want to just, like, shock my mother-in-law, I want her to never talk to me again, like, it's the Geek. The Geek every time. If somebody's like, hey, I need, like, to fill my trash can up, like, you order all the copies of Bigfoot or Bust, you put those in the garbage, you've got a full can of garbage.
Okay, let's try that one. See what that one does.
Because Adam does not want to cover Bigfoot erotica again. That there are other forums that you can find. There are memes. There are posters.
A burgeoning novel industry.
There's a lot of books. There are a lot of dirty looking Bigfoot books. Because I guess that's when I look at the books, I'm like, there are a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there that think Bigfoot is sexy. A lot of them, and not all of them are confident enough to go out and make films, so they write books. And you find authors like
Deranged or whatever.
You've got Ann L. What was it? Ann L. Probe, Bill Nichols. You know, a lot of authors out there. You're gonna find all kinds of crazy titles. My favorite was Broken by Bigfoot. I was like, if that doesn't put an image in your head. But yeah, have at it. If you've got any thoughts, if you want to try to come on and explain to us why people find Bigfoot erotic, you go to the comments section. And you leave as long of a digression
what do you guys
as you
think? Because this is I hope this isn't an ongoing conversation, but even avoiding these movies, based on what I've seen so far, we're going to run into this kind of stuff again.
Oh, for sure.
And, we don't want it to be, it's already awkward because it's weird, but, we don't want it to be any more than it has to be. So join the conversation. I don't know if that makes it more or less awkward, but...
I think it's time I made a plan. I don't want to be
Welcome to the Bigfoot Breakdown.
So we've got 3 movies to cover today. We're going to do them in the same order that we did the initial coverage.
Okay, so starting with The Geek, there is no discussing this film without addressing Bigfoot's penis. So, what did you think of Bigfoot's penis?
Well, there was a scene where he was having some difficulty. There's definitely a scene where he was having some difficulty. It seems like they cut it short, probably for our benefit and everyone else's as well.
By some difficulty, I assume you're referring to the fumbling. Bigfoot is a fumbler in this film. Not the most impressive display of sexual prowess. It's not what you would expect. Because the way that they do it is they go in the suit direction. Obviously, it's 1971. So they've got this actor in this big, shaggy costume. And they just kind of like cut a courtesy hole in the costume. So it's just not a very flattering image. It's this big, bulky costume and just a regular human penis kind of dangling there. It's a strange look. It's not very intimidating, I would say. I think it should have been more intimidating, considering that he ended up being a threat to the girls.
I don't think that it matters. I think it still would have been an awful movie.
It must be there. His home must be upstairs.
Wow. There's really not too much else. All Bigfoot.
At one point, they walked by a place, and they're like, this must be his camp. And there's just like a pile of bones on the ground. So I guess that's all his camp consists of.
Yeah, so Bigfoot can camp, not very well.
He doesn't seem particularly strong. You might expect that he would, but he is not here.
He threw some of the guys around at the end of the movie. I mean,
not super strong. Not as strong as we've seen before. moving on to Sweet Prudence. There's a lot here.
There's a lot
more so than in most of our movies, and we'll just cover some of the basics, and we'll let our expert take it from there.
Let's start with the common factors. We can say for sure in these two movies that Bigfoot is male. Sometimes we've assumed that in the past, but you see Bigfoot's penis in both of these movies. And I will say that the Bigfoot in Sweet Prudence was much, much more endowed than the Bigfoot in the Geek. You see it in silhouette form. I wasn't quite... How hairy do you think it was?
Couldn't say.
So it has more of a screen presence in Sweet Prudence. On top of that,
they give us a size for his footprint. What was that? It was like
18 inches.
18 inches. We hear Gigantopithecus americanus thrown around. This is the second time now that we've got Gigantopithecus getting a mention. I think the first time was in Sasquatch Hunters.
That's true. You get to see Bigfoot's semen in Sweet Prudence. You get to see Dirk put his hands in it, put it in his mouth. You can see the consistency. It's thick.
Pretty gross.
It's white. It is like a liquid form, if you were wondering.
Now, Bigfoot is intelligent here, maybe more intelligent than most humans, as he can repair and build his spaceship, because he is indeed also a space alien.
You skipped over. We were talking about Bigfoot's semen. It also has property.
Any lunar eclipse, I will be able to communicate.
And then he cannot breathe in the vacuum of space. We know this because before he goes to his ship, he does put a helmet on. So.
God.
He's going back to his home, where he's safe and sound. And I'm gonna miss him.
I do want to say this marks the introduction of the alien Bigfoot, which I assumed we'd be getting to at some point, because I know that that's kind of a thing in some parts of the community.
In the documentary world, there's people that think Bigfoot are cool. Then there's the next level, that people who think Bigfoot is real. Then there's another level of people who want to have sex with Bigfoot. And then if you want to keep drilling, then you hit the bedrock of people who think that Bigfoot is an alien from outer space. And that is where it's just like...
But moving on to our final film, Bigfoot or Bust. Once again, Bigfoot is nothing here really but like a peeping Tom kind of deal.
Well, actually, once again, I want to start with things that are the same. Sweet Prudence and Bigfoot or Bust are the first. This is a milestone for the show. First time that we get to see Bigfoot's poop. Now, this is where it is beneficial to watch all these things together and compare them, because if you take Bigfoot's poop and Sweet Prudence and put it next to Bigfoot's poop and Bigfoot or Bust, you get two very different pieces of poop.
In Bigfoot or Bust, it's kind of a miracle cure in the future. And that's why the
I'm not talking about the cure. I'm talking about the consistency. That piece of poop looked polished.
That's
it was
true.
One solid piece. It looked like that Bigfoot was high in a fiber diet, whereas the Sweet Prudence Bigfoot looks like a meat eater. Looks like it needs some celery or some carrots or something. It's a pile that you step in, your shoe is ruined.
Holy mothball! That looks like a piece of crap.
Not a lot going on with Bigfoot. He's able to sing. He has kind of a country voice when he sings.
Yeah, I guess that's another instance of Bigfoot talking.
He has knowledge of brawls and how they work.
I think there's behavioral evidence in that film to suggest that Bigfoot does in fact like large breasts. I think that if the movie makes anything clear, it's that Bigfoot will come to your window, stare at you through the bushes. Like, if you're doing anything, jumping up and down, Bigfoot is going to be cheering off camera, just going wild.
That is, and if he's not doing that, he's his home field watching 3D television of the same thing.
But I was up near Sacramento. I was panning for gold, because, you know, I'm a gold digger.
Welcome to Statsquatch, where we crunch the numbers. Our first film was The Geek from 1971. Now, none of these movies have kills in them, so we're going to be replacing the kills stat with the number of times Bigfoot had sex. So for the Geek, we've got one Bigfoot in the film who has sex 2 times, and he is on screen for a new record holder here, 5 minutes and 8 seconds. Our second film is Sweet Prudence, which also has one Bigfoot who has sex 2 times and is on screen for 4 minutes and 35 seconds. And our third film today, Bigfoot or Bust, also has one Bigfoot who has sex 0 times and breaks the record once more with a whopping 5 minutes and 47 seconds. So you have it here, folks. If you want more Bigfoot in your movies, apparently these are the ones that you're going to want to be watching so far. Hopefully that'll change in the future. And now let's go to location. So first we have the Geek in Washington, and then we have Sweet Prudence in Ontario, and then finally we have Bigfoot or Bust in LA.
SasqWatch! Well, maybe you're someone who doesn't want to talk about porn or think about porn. And if you're one of those people, then get ready for our next episode of SasqWatch, because we're going to be covering 1974's Shriek of the Mutilated.
The sight of it will live with you or die with you, but you will never forget the Shriek of the Mutilated. The abominable snowman, the Yeti, or is it? A scientific expedition that turns into a nightmare for all but a few, with the surprise ending of the year.
Sometimes it almost sounds like something human.
SasqWatch. And all of the women from space, if you're wondering where that plot goes, they find a piece of Bigfoot's poop and then they go back to the future.
They do like a spell. That's why I said they were witches, because it doesn't look like technology anymore. They cast like a spell over the poop and teleport it into the future, and then they themselves change outfits and then go into the future.